over there. That is where I'm going to be answering questions. So, Wrestle Gaming videos, just like that one about Rodrygo, on the YouTube is where I'm going to be answering questions. So I would really appreciate it if you would go to the link in my TikTok bio underneath the little tabs and stuff. Click on my YouTube, go there and watch the stream on YouTube. I would really, really, really appreciate it. And we've just got some breaking news as well for Federico Chiesa, so I suggest you get over there now. I'd really, really appreciate it. If you are in the YouTube, hello. Hello, just give me 1 second. I need to tweet this out. We had a little malfunction with the stream, so I've had to basically restart it. But yeah, we are live now. Right. So yeah, we are live streaming. Same again, if you are on the TikTok, please head over to the YouTube. That is where we're going to be talking about Liverpool Football Club and answering questions. If you are watching on YouTube right now, then hello and welcome. And please hit like on the stream. It helps it boost it to other people. So the more likes that we get on the stream on YouTube, the more people see it, because we have got some really important news to go through. First of all, with Federico Chiesa. So Federico Chiesa has been left out of Liverpool's tour. Liverpool are on their way to Asia. They're going to Asia for a tour. And we were all expecting Luis Diaz to be left out of the flight tonight, thinking that a deal to Bayern Munich was pretty much close. But it turns out it's Federico Chiesa who has been left out. Now, this may also mean something for their pursuit of Alexander Isak. Now, Liverpool are obviously interested in having two strikers, which is understandable after the tragic situation with Diogo Jota and obviously Darwin Núñez's departure expected this summer. Liverpool put out a little brief thing about the fact that Federico Chiesa is potentially a player that Liverpool can use throughout the middle of the pitch. That now is pretty clear that it won't be the case, as he's been left out of the tour of Asia. You would imagine that is because a move is pending for the player. So, is that the end of Federico Chiesa? I would suggest that probably is. Adventures with K&G in the YouTube. Do we get Rodrygo? It's such a hard one. It's such a hard one to say, because I believe Liverpool have obviously got interest, and there was a report just before we came on air from L'Equipe that said if Luis Diaz leaves Liverpool Football Club, then it is expected that Rodrygo would be the man to replace him. So it's clear that Liverpool have got their number one target identified for the replacement of Luis Diaz, being Rodrygo. Rodrygo is reportedly set to have sort of crunch talks with Xabi Alonso regarding his place in the squad, and whether whether the player is going to get the minutes that he desires, and whether he's going to get the sort of position that he wants as well, of obviously left wing. Now, at Real Madrid, he's competing against Mbappe, Vinicius Jr. I know Mbappe's played through the middle, but obviously they're two players that both want to play off the left, and Rodrygo also wants to play on the left. So it makes it really, really difficult for that to be the case of, playing Rodrygo off the left. Arda Güler was fancied more than Rodrygo during the Club World Cup, and I think Xabi Alonso will probably reiterate the message to Rodrygo that, look, there's nothing here for you. There's no place for you next season, which would be disappointing, because obviously he wants to stay at Real Madrid by all accounts, but he's also got to look after his own career. And someone made a really good point from a different YouTube channel called Talking Reds, where I host, that it's very similar to the Harvey Elliott situation in the case of that he supports the club that he plays for, and he'd be desperate to do anything to stay playing for Liverpool Football Club, or in Rodrygo's situation for Real Madrid, but your own career has to come over, obviously your love and your support for the team that you're at. Is Rodrygo in a similar situation now where he has to prioritise, his career over playing, a bit part for Real Madrid and helping them here and helping them there? Personally, I believe he needs to. I think he should come to Liverpool Football Club where he would have an army of supporters behind him. He would have a manager that would trust him, and he'd be one of our superstar players that we would all be so excited to watch. Fingers crossed, Rodrygo feels that same way towards Liverpool, because we've been tracking him since he was 12 years of age as well. So, we've done the background checks on this player. We know who we want, and we know why we want him. If you are in the YouTube, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that like so that we can try and boost our streams up to as many people as possible. If you're watching in the TikTok, I am not ignoring your comments. It's just that I am streaming on YouTube, and that is where I'm answering questions. If you go to the link in my bio on the TikTok, it will send you to the YouTube where we are streaming right now, and you can come in there and you can ask all the questions you want. If you could like and subscribe on the stream, that would be amazing as well. Adventures with K and G says, I still don't think Isak's situation is dead, and I think Liverpool may try to get a deal done. Right now, this Federico Chiesa situation could open up a few moving parts, as Liverpool now have a situation where they can sign a Rodrygo, or they can sign an Isak, for example, without any sales and be in a really, really healthy position. The departure of Darwin Núñez looks like it's pretty much inevitable at this point. So you would suspect that if Liverpool, say for example, signed just Alexander Isak, it would then be Gakpo and Diaz for the left wing, Isak, Ekitike up front, and then Salah / Frimpong or one of the youngsters for the right wing spot. If we sell Diaz then in a couple of weeks' time, or next week, or whenever, then you can go and move in for Rodrygo as well. But this situation with Chiesa being left off the tour, you would imagine is going to result in us being able to facilitate signing somebody soon and not have to worry about Darwin Núñez or Luis Diaz going out of the door right now. And maybe wait for that Saudi Arabia money. Yahar Sahar says, did you watch the Stoke game? I didn't watch the Stoke game, mate. It was played behind closed doors. So that means that there's no footage, obviously, of it live at the moment. It is reported that it's supposed to be on LFC TV tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. at the night, but then there is also a bit of confusion that might be highlights from when we played Stoke in 2013-14 or something Sky put down. So we'll have to see what the situation with that is. So yeah. But how do we all feel? How do we all feel about that breaking news? Federico Chiesa being left out of the tour. That definitely doesn't spell well for his career, does it? And you'd imagine now that there must be some kind of move, ready to go. Whether that's a loan or it's a permanent. Maybe the manager says that he's picked up a knock in today's game against Stoke, or we're managing his minutes because of obviously how he's dealt with playing with Liverpool and the intensity in the past. I don't know. Personally, I'd imagine that's because a move is on the way. Same again, guys. If you're watching in the YouTube, really appreciate it. If you could give this stream a like so that we can boost it up and obviously try and build for the Reds, I would really, really appreciate it. The support has been top class this past couple of days. I think we went up something like 20 subscribers in the last couple of hours. So, you guys have been absolutely smashing it, and I really appreciate it. Adventures says, I'd keep Núñez, to be honest. Guy looks a beast at the moment. Well, he scored a hat-trick today, didn't he, against Stoke in the behind closed doors. So if Darwin Núñez does leave, then he definitely needs to take his barber with him, because whatever his barber's done has ended up resulting in him banging in the goals for fun, 4-2 at the moment in pre-season. So, yeah, if you are Darwin Núñez's barber, you might have some consistent work coming your way. Hi guys, same again. If you're on the TikTok, I am not ignoring you. It's just that we are streaming on YouTube. We're trying to grow the YouTube. So if you've got any questions or you want to chat, then head over to my YouTube. The link is in my profile bio on TikTok, and you can come over and we'll chat everything Liverpool there. So, same again for the YouTube fellas and gals. We're going to talk about what could our attack look like next season, and I think it could be frightening, absolutely frightening. So, first of all, Florian Wirtz played in the number 10 position tonight, is reported, against Stoke. That would mean Liverpool are going to play with a more natural, you'd say 4-2-3-1, with Liverpool's right back coming inverted, so it's more like a 3-3. 1-3 kind of situation. If that's the case, can we seriously fit Florian Wirtz, Mohamed Salah, Hugo Ekitike, potentially Alexander Isak, potentially Rodrygo, Gakpo? Can we fit all those players into a happy, rotational, sort of fluid front three, front four at times throughout the season? Personally, I see no reason why. We had a similar situation last year where it was Nunes and Jota would share their minutes around striker. Then it would be also Luis Diaz as well, because obviously the manager didn't have much faith in either player's form. And when they did start, they struggled. Diogo had some incredible moments off the bench, and the Fulham game and the Everton game are goals to remember. But I think Arne Slot is looking for a situation now where he can have two players in every position and basically build two teams to go and try and dominate world football. That requires two top players in every position. So it requires two top left wingers, two brilliant strikers, and then arguably two brilliant right wingers, although it's very, very hard to go and start over Mo Salah because of his form and his availability. And Frimpong can probably deputise there if needs be, or whoever the fluidish left winger that we bring in. I think Liverpool are trying to do business that was planned for next summer and bring it forward into this summer, because some market opportunities have become available that wouldn't usually be there. Rodrygo, I don't think anybody expected to be potentially on the market this summer, and Liverpool are now attentive to that situation. I also think they didn't expect Hugo Ekitike to potentially be available on the market. I know we were rumoured with him and we were linked with him, but the price that Frankfurt wanted was so high, and that's now come down a little bit. So I think Liverpool are seeing this situation as well. If we can get Rodrygo in, a summer earlier than maybe what we were potentially wanting to do, and shift Luis Diaz over, then that would make so much sense for the club to go and pursue those deals. Why, one, we can financially do it, but two, we have the room and the scope to do it before next summer, where more suitors could potentially come in. So what might that look like? If we had Isak, Ekitike, Mohamed Salah, Cody Gakpo and Rodrygo, what would your front three look like playing in front of Florian Wirtz? Let me know that now in the chat. What would your preferred front three be? Florian Wirtz supplying that. Same again, guys. If you're watching on the TikTok, I'm not ignoring you. Please go to my page on TikTok, the profile, click the link, come over to the YouTube. That's where we're chatting and that's where we're going through everything Liverpool, and I will answer your questions and that's where we'll have the chat. Kenny says, bring in Rodrygo, Isak and Gay. I think Matt Gay is definitely a player that Liverpool are going to sign come the end of the window. The closer it gets to transfer deadline day, the more pressure Crystal Palace are under. They've still not signed a replacement for him. If they don't sign a replacement for him and he leaves next season, that's probably £35 to £40 million that they're sacrificing. I would say that Liverpool hold all the cards in the chase for Mark Gay, and the second that they get a replacement or they feel that they are close and they need an injection of cash to go and get that replacement, Liverpool will then come back to the table. But Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, I think, are playing a blinder right now and just letting that one fester over at Crystal Palace whilst Mark Gay makes it dead clear, I am not signing a new deal and I am off the second that we get that I get the chance, if that's this summer, January or on a free. But yeah, keep it coming. Let me know, what would your front three be? Presuming it was Florian Wirtz playing behind them. What would your front three be? Thanks for the likes, by the way, guys. Really, really appreciate it. If you could keep that up, if you could keep liking, if you're watching and you're new, subscribe as well to support the channel. We're really, really trying to grow at the moment and bring back the consistency and the quality that Florida Reds had. I think my front three, I'd want a little bit of balance. I'd want players that can link together. I'd want dynamism. I'd want pace. Players that can spread the goals around, which means spreading the threat around, so that when teams are facing us, it's not so easy to defend just one player. You know, you've got threat and goals coming from all areas, which I think is what Arne Slot wants. So for me, it would look something like Rodrygo off the left, Alexander Isak through the middle, Mohamed Salah off the right, and Florian Wirtz in the 10. Again, in the hypothetical that we sign Rodrygo and Isak after Ekitike. The excitement around that, though, is that you've got Cody Gakpo, who's a completely different kind of dynamism to a Rodrygo, and a more bring the ball inside, cross from deep, beat the player on the outside, cross with the left foot. Someone who's really successful at dribbling inside spaces, carrying the ball and delivering crosses. And then you've got Hugo Ekitike, who again is also very similar to Alexander Isak with maybe a little bit more creativity. So if you want to go with a little bit more robustness in midfield and maybe, say, for example, play McAllister in the 10 and have Gravenberch and Endo, or Gravenberch and Szoboszlai deep, then you can play Ekitike as the striker and not sacrifice that little bit of that lot of creativity that Florian Wirtz brings, because you've got a striker who's a little bit more of a link player than say Alexander Isak. Whereas Alexander Isak, if he's got Wirtz, Rodrygo, and Mohamed Salah playing around him, supplying the ball 24/7, the guy's just going to absolutely feast and score bags and bags and bags full. So I'd really, really be intrigued to see what would happen if Alexander Isak, came in and had that kind of supply line. You're talking potentially like Premier League records kind of situation. So again, if you've not seen it, for you guys on the TikTok, then I would really appreciate if you could come over to the YouTube and come and watch us over there. That's where we're having the chat. There is also no Jaden Dans or Stefan Bajcetic on the tour as well, which is an interesting one. There is also I believe. Sorry, I'm just checking on Twitter. No, yeah, so Trainioni's there, Rio Engamo is there. It's just Jaden Dans and Stefan Bajcetic who have been left from sort of like those youngsters. Is that what it is, Kenny? Are they saying Chiesa misses the trip due to minor fitness issues? Well, I mean, look, if that's the case, if it's minor fitness issues, then for me that's the end of his career anyway with Liverpool, because if the players are always injured to the point of where he can't even get a full pre-season, there's not a chance he's sticking around next year. It could end up in resulting that Liverpool have to go and do a loan deal with him to maybe AC Milan or some other Italian team, and that they get an obligation to buy or an option to buy next summer. Ultimately, we sign him for that low of a price that I think Liverpool aren't too concerned of what kind of hit we take on him. It's just more making sure that, he's not with the squad next season. The Jaden Dans and Stefan Bajcetic one is interesting. I would suspect that Jaden Dans has got a loan move, as he's back now from his injury. It was suggested that he was going to make the tour and he was going to get given the opportunity to prove himself on the tour, whereas now he's been left out of the squad. So possibly a move is close for Jaden Dans. And then Stefan Bajcetic, obviously he's injured, so I don't think he was ever going to make the tour. So that one makes sense. You'd imagine he'd stay home, train, try and hopefully get him another loan move. I know there's rumours of teams in Spain interested, so fingers crossed, something can be pulled off for Steph, because I'm still a big fan and I think he's got a good career ahead of him. Hi guys in the TikTok, again, come over to the YouTube, go on my bio, click that link, come over to the YouTube stream. That's where you can answer your questions, that's where I'm reading chat. So yeah, I'd really appreciate it if you could come over and support us. Same again, guys, if you are in the stream, please hit the like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that you know when I'm going live next. I'd really, really, really appreciate it, because it helps us grow, for the Reds. Should we talk a little bit more about Rodrygo? Because I'll be honest with you, I can talk about Rodrygo Goes for the rest of my life. This is a player who excites me beyond belief. Okay, now I said it on a stream a couple of days ago. I've said it in a stream what I host on a different channel. I've done a video that's coming out tomorrow morning about him. I honestly, hand on heart, believe he has Ballon d'Or potential. I think he has the possibilities to contend for the Ballon d'Or. I think it is a player who is waiting to just absolutely light up world football. He's had flirting moments on the stage with Real Madrid. His Champions League performances for them, whilst playing out of position, have been unbelievable. His numbers in that competition alone are superb. I honestly believe if he was in the right environment, with the right trust, playing left wing consistently and building relationships with his left back, his midfielders, his number 10, his striker, he would be an absolute demon and he would tear up the Premier League. He is a signing that excites me, equally the same that Alexander Isak was, that Florian Wirtz was, and Hugo Ekitike as well. As you all know, I'm massive fans of him. But Rodrygo is the kind of player that just makes you fall in love with football. The second he gets it, he is at his fullback with pace and power. He's comfortable bringing the ball inside and beating numerous players and getting shots off. He can strike it on both feet. He can go down the line onto his left and play balls across the box or shoot from a tight angle. He can play in the striker position. He can play off the right if needs be. He can pick the ball up from deep in little pockets and drive. He can go and play on the shoulder and score, 1v1s, one-touch finishing. Can arrive at the back post when the ball's on the opposite side. He would be, for me, the most dangerous attacker, along with Mohamed Salah, in the Premier League once you really got up and running with it. I cannot rate him high enough. And there'll be people probably who are saying, like, well, his Real Madrid league numbers aren't the best. And, there's a little bit of scepticism around the signing, and I understand. But for me, this is a player that you don't look at in a, well, what are your stats kind of scenario. I think this is a player that you look at of, what's your potential? What are you currently capable of? But more importantly, where is your ceiling? If you're in the right environment where you're loved and adored, and you're given consistent minutes in your starting position where you should be, what is the ceiling? What is the capabilities? And I think that through the roof for Rodrygo. I can't be more excited about a potential signing than Rodrygo, and especially for the money that's quoted. I think it was 80 million euros, 90 million euros gets him, so a similar fee to what we're paying for Hugo Ekitike. To spend that for a player who's got nearly 40 odd goals and assists in 60 odd Champions League games for Real Madrid, playing out of position and accommodating for Benzema, for Mbappe, for Vinicius Junior, for Asensio, for all those players down the years, and still put up those kind of numbers and come in clutching as well in the moments when they need him. Just imagine what he could do if he was the main man somewhere. Yeah, frighteningly exciting for me. Same again, guys, would really appreciate it if you would like the stream, and if you are there and you are new and you're enjoying it, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to build for the Reds as much as we can, so I would really, really appreciate it. Same again, if you are in a TikTok and you are watching and you go to my profile and you click on the link, it'll send you to my YouTube. That's where we're streaming now. We are back on the growth after 2 years off, I think it was. So yeah, really, really appreciate it. Work rate's good, Kenny. Kenny asks what's Rodrygo's work rate like. extremely good. Probably the most hard-working attacker of the Real Madrid front line. And when I was in a stream the other day, someone put up that I think it was just before the Club World Cup or maybe during the Club World Cup, put up a Instagram post talking about, you know, be fair, I think it was. Be fair because fairness is kind, but don't... Basically, it was translated poorly, but the overall message, I believe, was I've played out of position and I've sacrificed myself for Real Madrid, and now I'm not getting that fair treatment in return. So I sort of, you know, I get where he's coming from, because at least the games that I've watched anyway is that he's doing a lot of running for a lot of players, and he's, like I say, he's playing out of position, he's accommodating other individuals, yet he's still putting up, in my opinion, really good numbers and really good performances. And Liverpool as well, we have a good success with players that have got like a redemption arc about them. So Hugo Ekitike, for example, didn't quite work out at PSG. That was his first big club move, and now he's got this second big club move, and it's an opportunity to go and really announce himself on the world stage and go, look, this is where I belong at one of these big clubs. And I think Rodrygo would be in a similar situation, of that he would have a scenario where he's going to a club that love and adore him and are playing him in his position that he needs to play in, week out, giving him the platform to go and show just truly how good of a footballer he is. So, yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. Who will be supporting him though? Is Alexander Isak coming to Liverpool Football Club? What do we think? Is Alexander Isak genuinely going to come to Liverpool Football Club? How did Eddie Howe's comments make you feel? Eddie Howe's comments to me gave me a new sense of optimism around the potential deal. I really thought they were encouraging. Really thought they were encouraging towards, a potential shift in mindset possibly from Newcastle. Ben, sod off you. No, I don't see a Salah drop off this season. Come and join us in the YouTube, Ben. Go to my profile and click on the link. Come over to the YouTube. Come and support me there. After I heard those comments when he was mentioning that, he spoke to the player and he can understand, that a player's career is short, and he mentioned that we're not the highest payers of wages and we can't be the highest payers of wages, and that that Alexander Isak was fit and could have played in the game, but Eddie Howe decided to leave him out of the squad and send him home rather than bring him. How Joe Linton came. It just all to me sounded a little bit like a scenario where either Eddie Howe has been really firm with Alexander Isak and has gone, look, you're staying at Newcastle, get your head around it, stay at home, get your head around it, come back for the talks. I think they're going to the USA, and be focused and prepared. Or it's a case of internally Alexander Isak has said, look, I want out. I'm going. My career's short. I've got a chance here to join Liverpool Football Club. My head is spinning and I need to go. I want out. And Eddie Howe's gone, right, well, we're taking it out of the limelight. In the review says Isak has to hand in a transfer request, I think. Kenny asks, do I reckon his head's turned? I think his head's turned. I really do think his head is turned. I don't believe Eddie Howe makes those comments if Isak's head, is firmly focused on Newcastle. I just don't see it. That doesn't mean that he'll leave. I just think that the player is in a situation where he knows Liverpool Football Club are interested. He knows there's a situation where this could be possibly his last chance to get a move to Liverpool Football Club, or at least from now till next summer. And you don't want to wait. You want to get in there whilst the iron's hot. I think he's sat at home watching all this, watching Newcastle miss out on player after player, watching their director of football leave, watching the squad age, and thinking, you know what, now is the time for me to go and take this next step in my career. So I think his head is absolutely spinning. Does he need to hand in a transfer request? Probably. I think you're right, Inder. I think he does need to hand in a transfer request. Whether it needs to go public or not is something else. But internally, I think he probably does need to hand a written transfer request and go, look, I am requesting that you let me out of the club. I don't think it's now or never, Kenny. Liverpool will hold their as long as Alexander Isak has the potential to move from Newcastle. Liverpool will hold interest. There's no doubt about that. I reckon it's more a case of he's seeing Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, possibly Rodrygo, Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez. I think he's seeing that happen and go, right, well, I want to get in there whilst, I want to strike whilst the iron's hot. I don't want Hugo Ekitike to go and have a full season and cement himself as the number one, because football changes quickly as well. Liverpool might have a really successful season with Hugo Ekitike as the striker and decide on a different option going forward and shelve their interest in Alexander Isak. But he knows right now there is a club of Liverpool's size and stature who have got a project that is on the absolute up and are willing to go and spend 140 to 150 million pound with add-ons potentially to sign him. I think his head is absolutely spinning. Same again, guys. If you're in the YouTube, I really appreciate it. If you're new around here, then please hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And if you are enjoying the stream, then please hit that like. Same again, guys. If you are on the TikTok, then I really appreciate it if you come over to the YouTube, because that's where we are answering all your questions. I'm going to read one from the TikTok because it's a friend of mine. Ben says, are you worried, Ryan, that the back four is not as settled this year? Do you think Konate will sign? I'm not necessarily worried about the back four. I think there's going to be a settling in period, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if Conor Bradley plays the majority of the start of the season, whilst Frimpong has some time to settle in. And then Konate and Van Dijk with Kerkez as the new left-back is the rest of the makeup of the back line, with possibly Mark Gay coming in and again having that settling in period that Frimpong will have. But again, look what Arne Slot won the league with a brand new squad and set of players to get used to, and those first few games, if you remember the pre-season tour of America, we looked frightening, and then we looked even better when the season started. So this is Arne Slot we're talking about. Tom, come over to the YouTube, Tom. Go onto my profile and click the little link on my bio. Come over to the YouTube chat and come and ask your questions there, because that's where we're answering everything. How long will Liverpool give him? They must have a deadline for Isak. I don't think you have a deadline for players like that, Inder, if I'm being brutally honest. At that age, at 25, about to turn 26, he's still got at least 5, 6, 7 years, at the top of his game for a striker. You don't put deadlines on players like that, as football changes all the time. It's very rare that you put deadlines. You may have, for example, an internal deadline, but that would probably be more on a position to be filled rather than a player. So if Liverpool weren't getting Hugo Ekitike, for example, and we had no striker, we may have made an internal decision of, look, if the move for Alexander Isak isn't gonna pay off by the first week of August, then we're gonna move on to other targets. But Liverpool, in typical Michael Edwards fashion, have dominated the transfer window and played it to an absolute T so far, so that they can wait for an Alexander Isak. They've already got Luis Diaz. So if Rodrygo needs another year and unhappy at Real Madrid, and we take another year of Luis Diaz and then move on to him next summer, then so be it. That's what happens. Or if Liverpool decide, actually we're going to keep Luis Diaz and we're going to ignore Isak and we're actually going to wait for him for the year, and instead we're going to sign Malik Fofana and bring him in as the left winger and do Diaz as the backup striker for a summer, then we can do. Liverpool's squad is already in a strong position, and we are trying to strengthen it from the from being the champions and being in a strong settled squad already, whilst being open to making little tweaks here for the right players, whether it's age or form or different things like that. But ultimately, they're players that have still won the Premier League and can still go and compete at the top level. So it's a fantastic scenario to be in, where if you win, if you want to get rid of those players, you can do, because you've already got top players waiting for you behind closed doors. Or if you don't want to move those on, those players are still at their clubs and might move in 6 months' time or 12 months' time, or there's other alternative deals. Like I say, instead of Rodrygo, it might be Malik Fofana or it might be Anthony Gordon. Liverpool are just playing the transfer window to an absolute T. Like it's so incredible to watch. So yeah, what is everyone's opinion on the Federico Chiesa news? Do we believe it is an injury, or do we think that there's a pending move? Alright guys, same again, if you're watching in the TikTok, I'd really appreciate it if you come over to the YouTube. If you go on my profile and click the little link, it'll send you over here. In the reviews, yeah, I get you. From Newcastle point of view, they can't afford to wait till the end of the deadline day, then have all that money and no one to spend it on. Listen, if Alexander Isak hasn't moved from Newcastle by the end of the first week of August, I would be amazed, absolutely flabbergasted, if they let him go. I do not see it. Do not see it. It needs to be now so that they can reinvest, or never. Kenny says no, it's not an injury. He played today. He's leaving, I reckon. Yeah, well, if the tapes, if the highlights and the tapes come out tomorrow of this Stoke game, and you see Federico pick up a knock, then maybe there is some truth to it. There is. It's 100% either an injury or a move. There's no doubt about that, because that's a player who gives you a little bit of versatility and flexibility whilst you're on tour as well, so that you don't have to maybe risk a Hugo Ekitike, the second he joins the tour, or Mo Salah and things. So I'd be surprised if it's just a case of the manager going like, no, I'm just going to leave you at home. It's definitely an injury or a move, 100%. Inda thinks he's leaving. I tend to agree. Just looking at the TikTok there, guys. So there's a Bruges fan, and they've just won the Super Cup. Well, congratulations, Bruges. I hope you're having a great night. Make sure you have loads of incredible beers, Belgian beers, to celebrate that Super Cup win. Thanks for the likes, guys, in the YouTube. That's brilliant. We're up to 7 likes now, and we were up to 20 viewers at one point. So you guys are absolutely smashing it. I really, really appreciate that. Let's go over to the Twitter and see what's going down on there. Okay, right. So Liverpool. Here we go. Right, I will repost it. There is highlights of the goals. Let me see if I can bring these up now onto. I know. One sec. If I go to. Browser, and then if we go URL and delete, I'm going to bring up the goals from today's game as I found them, I believe. So let's bring them up. Right, here we go. Are we ready? Are we ready? I'm going to put it in the corner there. Can we all see what's going on there? Right, it's not working. So I am going to get rid of that. Yeah, it's not working there, guys, so I do apologise. I don't know why that's not working. Um, Dan's has not gone on tour, no. Kenny says 100 million plus Chiesa for Isak. I would love that. Imagine they would. Imagine they'd actually take him. That'd be incredible. But something tells me they wouldn't be too interested in Federico Chiesa. Although he did score against them. So Dan's has not gone on the tour. I believe Dan's hasn't gone on the tour due to a potential loan move. So I'd be keeping an eye on that one. If you want to see the goals, from today, I have just reposted them on my Twitter. So if you go into Twitter, you type in For the Reds, and as a matter of fact, actually, I will put a link to it in the chat so that you guys can see. Yeah, we are. Yeah, there is the goals are up, which I thought was only supposed to be tomorrow. So that's pretty cool. Why can't I? Okay, well I can't put a link in the chat, so I do apologise. But if you go to Twitter and you go to For the Reds, then it'll bring you a link. Sorry, it'll bring you the goals from today's game. Right, we're gonna start closing down. If you want to catch me again tonight, I am going to be over at Talking Reds YouTube channel, where we will be doing a late night stream at 9:30 p.m. going over today's news a little bit and probably a little bit more in depth on Rodrygo. So if that's something you're interested in, then again come over to Talking Reds, the Liverpool YouTube channel. We're about to hit 1,000 subscribers over there as well, which will be incredible. It's run by a guy called Damo and a few other of us do hosting over there and guesting. Really, really brilliant channel. Loads of great personalities and Liverpool fans. So yeah, I really, really appreciate it if you would go over there and come and support us tonight. Thank you very much for watching. If you're in the TikTok, thanks for carrying on watching. I really, really appreciate the support. If you're watching in the YouTube, the same again, I appreciate the support. If you could please like the stream before you leave and hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when I'm next going live, that would be incredible. So yeah, I would really, really appreciate that, guys, and I shall see you all in the next one.